Hello friends! As we approach the 10-year anniversary of Dashcon next month, I thought it would be timely to give you a little background history on some of the Tumblr culture of the 2010s. The two biggest fandoms of pre-Dashcon Tumblr were Homestuck and SuperWhoLock. This video is about SuperWhoLock. What is a SuperWhoLock? You may be sitting there and asking. It is a uniquely Tumblr fandom. It is a fandom that Tumblr invented that is a crossover universe between Supernatural, Doctor Who, and Sherlock. At the time, all of those shows were still running. They were very popular individually. But my question is, why did Tumblr decide to, merge them into a mega fandom? Because as far as I know, nothing like that has ever happened before, and nothing like that has ever happened since. Why did we do SuperWhoLock? Today on Strange, why did we do SuperWhoLock? But first, a word from— Hi, how do you smell today? Because I personally smell pretty scrumptious. Scent is this whole amazing avenue of self-expression that I never even explored for 20 plus years of my life. My first introduction to it was Scentbird. I work from home, so I don't go out or wear perfume every single day. So I find that these bottles actually last me a really long time. When I am getting ready to go out, I take them all out and I sniff them and I go, what's the mood today? You know, are we feeling summery botanicals? Are we feeling scary, intimidating goth lady? This time around, Scentbird stocked me up on two of my all-time favorite scents and sent me two new ones. We'll start with my faves. We got Sintra again. I really like this one. I think it's so unique, yet also classy. I also got Rosario again. I love this one because it's so bright and citrusy, but it also has these more floral and fruity notes that make it kind of complicated. Onto the new ones, we got Couleur Primaire. Once again, with every Scentbird sponsorship, I have to apologize for my French. I'm sorry, French people. This one is really interestingly pear-forward. I like it. I feel like it's an expensive cocktail at a downtown bar and I kind of want to drink it. I also got Calm and Cedar. This one really lives up to its name. It's extremely calming. It's like your favorite calming tea, but not really, because it doesn't smell like a tea. It smells like the whole experience and vibe of cozying up with your favorite calming tea. Scentbird is your go-to place to learn about and discover new scents. You get to learn what you like and try things out before you commit to buying a large expensive bottle of perfume, because nice perfume bottles can cost in the hundreds of dollars, and Scentbird lets you try out those same expensive bottles for just $17 a month. If you kind of already know what you like, you can browse their huge selection and choose what you want. If you maybe want some suggestions, you can use their quiz and get matched up with all kinds of interesting fragrances you may never have heard of. If you're interested in trying out Scentbird, you can use my code STRANGE, that's code STRANGE, or click the link in the description below, or scan the QR code on screen. You'll get 55% off your first month at Scentbird. That's even more than 50% off. That's a pretty good deal. So it'll only be about $8 for your first month. Thank you so much to Scentbird for sponsoring this video, and now I return you to your regularly scheduled content. Fanfiction crossovers are as old as modern fanfiction itself. Go back to fanzines in the 60s and you'll find the Beatles hanging out with the Star Trek crew. It's just one of the obvious things that occurs to people to do when you're playing with your favorite media like Silly Putty. What if Blorbo from my show could meet Blorbo from my other show? However, crossovers have always been a little bit controversial because they're difficult to do well or seriously, I guess. A lot of fantasy and sci-fi shows have conflicting lore, so trying to introduce all of the implications of the world building of one show to all of the implications of the world building of another show most often results in utter nonsense. Or crossovers will tend to prioritize one fandom over others. So it's not really fun to read if you're only into the secondary fandoms, and if you're into the main fandom, then you don't necessarily get all of the references to the secondary fandoms, or you don't care. So it's not really satisfying for anyone involved. There have always been a faction of people who think crossovers are stupid. And that's valid. There's certainly a lot of stupid ones out there. But of course, they are undeniably fun when you're a hardcore fan of two separate pieces of media and you want to combine them. That's undeniably a fun thing to do. Anyway, that's my overview of decades of crossover discourse. We enter our scene. Tumblr. The year is 2011. A young social media site in the midst of making an identity for itself. On 2011 Tumblr, you had the option to be fandom or hipster. A lot of the users were quite young and discovering things that they were passionate about for the first time, so there could be a surprising amount of pride and identity wrapped up in something as seemingly simple as being into fandom or being a fandom nerd. Tumblr users loved to celebrate all their big fandoms: Doctor Who, Harry Potter, The Hunger Games, Supernatural, Sherlock, Homestuck. It was idealized not to just be into one thing, but to be into fandom in general, to have your collection of fandoms. There are an abundance of posts from 2010 to 2011 which bring together various popular fandoms and kind of reinforce this sentiment. The most iconic of which is the fandom's grab your weapons post. It starts off with this screenshot from Facebook of like people calling Tumblr boring and dissing Tumblr, and then the Tumblr users all get mad. They're gonna go find them. They say, Potterheads, grab your wands. Whovians, hop in your TARDISes. Supernatural fans, get the shotgun. Sherlockians, hire your consulting criminals. Tributes, knock an arrow. Avengers fans, assemble. Lord of the Rings fans, unsheath sting. We've got a few people to track down. Les Mis fans, build a barricade, yes? And then it just keeps going like this, increasingly ridiculous. This post is iconic for being just emblematic of 2010's Tumblr fandom cringe. But there's many like it. But my question is, why did these specific fandoms, Sherlock, Doctor Who, and Supernatural, the SuperWhoLock fandoms, why did these three specifically, like, glue themselves together and become a whole new fandom? Why didn't we get Katniss and Snape riding around in the TARDIS instead, you know? The 3 points of the SuperWhoLock trinity may at first seem disparate. We've got Sherlock, it's a modern adaptation of the iconic Sherlock Holmes stories. You got Sherlock Holmes, played by Bendy Dick Cucumber Patch, his boy toy blogger John Watson, to a lesser extent, his nemesis Moriarty and his weird brother Mycroft are also in the show. Sherlock, both the show and the character, often deliberately make fun of the supernatural. There was never any stupid ghosts or anything, and Sherlock solves the case with his big facts and logic brain and proves it's always humans. Then you have Supernatural, which is literally fucking called Supernatural. It's about these two brothers, Sam and Dean, the Winchester brothers, Sam and Dean. One of them is the good one, one of them is the bad one, and you better know which is the correct answer in the comments down below, because I think there's a correct answer. They hunt demons on this show. They hunt demons. They might also be demons and or having sex with demons for their blood, depending on the season. There's this other guy, Castiel. He's around. He wears a trench coat. Doctor Who. Funky little adventures across time and space. SuperWhoLock concerns mainly Matt Smith's 11th Doctor, although there is some appreciation for David Tennant's 10th Doctor. And, Christopher Eccleston, is that his name? 9th Doctor? Yeah. The 11th Doctor is the most popular Doctor within SuperWhoLock. He's not like other Doctors. He's young, he's hot, he's quirky, he thinks bow ties are cool. SuperWhoLock is an excellent example of a crossover which could never logically happen because it would obliterate the premise of every piece of media involved. But it does not matter, you see. It does not matter what makes SuperWhoLock different, okay? It matters what binds them together. Hot, white men. I obviously use the term hot loosely. I do not find any of these men hot. And not even in like the kind of detached, I can objectively recognize that these people are conventionally attractive lesbian way. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I straight up don't get it, guys. I also use the word hot loosely because even within the fandom, a lot of girls recognized and took pride in the fact that these are not really your typical Hollywood heartthrobs. They were a little weird looking, or they dressed kind of strange. It was more important that they have such intriguing personalities, that they're so intelligent, or they have this mysterious dark side. They're also a little bit older than the typical famous actor men marketed to teenage girls. The unconventional nature of thirsting over these men was very much always part of the appeal of thirsting over them. So we got all these men. We got these men, okay, they're quirky, they're different, they're kind of weird, and they're capturing the hearts of weird girls all across the Tumblr universe. Now, what these shows lack is equally well-written female characters. So what if? All of these shows, I'm gonna put a dent in my wall at this rate, all of these shows stray into the realm of being so misogynistic that they have no choice but to become gay. Women simply do not exist in a meaningful way. I mean, I think there was some shipping of Amy Pond with the 11th Doctor, but, like, there was an equal amount of, like, a horrendous hatred for her in the fandom. We all know that one of the most powerful drivers of fandom is shipping. And in this case, pretty much all of the interesting characters on screen were men. Okay, probably the most popular heterosexual ship existing within SuperWhoLock would have been Rose and the 10th Doctor, which is, you know, it's good, it's canon, it's a clean, good, wholesome ship for the whole family. But within this, women definitely took a backseat within this, because most of the time, the only interesting characters on screen were men. In some cases, the only characters on screen most of the time were men. A great example of the lengths people will go to ship characters, I think, evidenced by Supernatural. The most popular ship in Supernatural is Destiel. Dean and Castiel. The second most popular ship in the Supernatural fandom is Wincest. Winchester and you get it. There are so few compelling characters within Supernatural at all. They resort to shipping the brothers because They're like the only characters that are consistently on screen, other than Castiel. And he doesn't show up until like season 4 or 5. The final thing which I think solidifies the SuperWhoLock bond is just that they were all ongoing TV shows at the time, so there was this constant hype and energy around like releases of new content, and they all existed in a visual medium, making fan edits easy and popular. The main art form of the SuperWhoLock fandom was GIF sets. They would juxtapose GIFs from the different shows with either canon dialogue that matched up interestingly or invented dialogue linking them. It could almost be a form of mini fanfiction at times. This was also the case with fan-made trailers. There are hundreds of fan-made SuperWhoLock trailers out there. People would edit together clips from the shows, you know, put some epic music in the background, and essentially create these invented plot lines where all of the shows end up converging. Conventional fanfiction was still very popular within this space, yes, but I do think that being born out of Tumblr, SuperWhoLock was a uniquely visual fandom a lot of the time. They played with images and videos from the source material like more than any other fandom I've ever seen. So, now that you have a decent overview, I hope, of what SuperWhoLock is, we return to my original question. Why did we do this? SuperWhoLock fanfiction first appeared on the big fanfiction sites of the time, so AO3 and fanfiction.net, in early 2012. January 2012 was when we see the first SuperWhoLock fanfictions appear. Google Trends data also suggests that it exploded very abruptly at the beginning of 2012, and the absolute earliest posts that I can find on Tumblr tagged with SuperWhoLock are from 2011. So we know that it developed throughout 2011 and then exploded in popularity pretty much right at the beginning of 2012. And someone actually sent me a really interesting post, a really interesting specimen, which reveals a step in the development of SuperWhoLock, I think. I'm so sorry for how 2011 Tumblr this is gonna get. I'm gonna do my best. I don't even watch Supernatural, but I absolutely adore the fandom. Every get the fucking salt or Misha crying gif makes me laugh, and you guys get Doctor Who too. Doctor Who fandom to the Supernatural fandom. Did we just become best friends? Yes! Super Who. Hunting evil aliens, saving the universe, the Super Who business. I like this development. Super Who? The two bamfiest fandoms just got married. Hell yeah. You are absolutely brilliant. Haha, OMG you guys. I don't know what's happening. I dig Super Who. Everyone say thank you and or how fucking dare you do this to us. Tumblr user Fezzes are cool. Based on the reactions of the other people on this post, I think this could very well be the first or one of the first instances of the fandom's names being merged this way. And yes, it was just Super Who. It was Super Who before it was SuperWhoLock. I found a bunch of other posts from 2011 from this era that are tagged with just Super Who. It's a merging of Supernatural and Doctor Who. Unfortunately, I don't know when Sherlock was added into the mix. I don't have a perfect godsend landmark post the way I have with the Super Who post. I don't have a post like that pointing to the introduction of Sherlock into the mix. All I know is that it happened at some point in December of 2011, likely. I'm gonna say the lock was added to the SuperWhoLock around November or December 2011. The golden age of SuperWhoLock had begun, and this thing became a monster. Obsessed frothing fangirls over Supernatural was one thing. Obsessed frothing fangirls over Sherlock was another thing. Doctor Who, another thing. But when you combine them all and you create this kind of expectation that to be into one is to be into the other, and to understand how all of these characters from different media would presumably interact with each other, what I'm saying is joining them together and creating this pressure for interest in one to equal interest in another made it so that if you were only into one or two of these fandoms, it made it impossible to avoid the beast. I can say that I've had the bad experience of watching all of these shows. I stand by pre-Moffat Doctor Who, but that's about it. And no, every episode of Supernatural featuring the Ghost Facers specifically. Other than that, but back in the day, can you guess which one of these bad shows I chose to like as a teenager? Because it might be the worst choice. It was Sherlock. No, I think Supernatural's the worst choice. I think if there's a worse choice on here, it's probably still Supernatural, but Sherlock is like pretty bad. If I were to rank them, I think Doctor Who is the best choice, then Sherlock, then Supernatural. I digress. As a teenager, I was a Sherlock Tumblr girly, unfortunately. Do you know how hard it was to follow blogs for Sherlock content without getting at least a little bit of Supernatural or Doctor Who in the mix? Hard, okay? It was very hard. Have you ever wondered why I'm fucking like this? Okay? SuperWhoLock exposure at a young age. And you know what's worse? Is I didn't even just get it on Tumblr. I got it in real life. I would roll up to 8th grade. What just went off? I just lost a light. I didn't just get SuperWhoLock exposure on Tumblr. I would roll up to 8th grade in my straight up real life, and all the fellow closeted neurodivergent kids would be talking about Supernatural and Doctor Who. The audacity. You know who you are. My lifelong friends to this day. But the point is, anyone who cared about only one or two of these fandoms individually, including myself, who was an exclusively Sherlock girly, found it quite annoying that the three tended to come as a bundle. Also, as much as SuperWhoLocks considered themselves like woker and edgier and more mature than Twilight fans or Justin Bieber fans, a lot of people on the outside didn't see any difference. They were all fangirls. They were obsessive, obnoxious, rabid fangirls. There's a post about that phenomenon, which says, reblog if you think water is wet, and then making fun of the kinds of things that fandom people would say, like, OMG, Sherlock and John totally bathe in water, LOL, headcanon accepted, God bless this post-John Lock 5 ever, OMG, what if Dean and Castiel went swimming? Unintelligible SuperWhoLock comment, LOL, this is why I love Tumblr. So essentially you can post water is wet, and people will try and somehow manage to make it about SuperWhoLock. Another thing that they were known for was GIF spamming, making posts incredibly long with a million different reaction GIFs of their shows. The incredibly stupid layout of the Tumblr dashboard at the time also meant that the longer a post became, the more likely it was that the text portion became completely unreadable because of the way it tried to, like, stack things with all of the different usernames. It would just get squished to the point that there was, like, one letter per line. Yes, we used this website willingly. We logged onto this website and said, yes, this is how I want to read posts. But imagine, you're 13, 14, maybe 15 years old, you're maybe closeted, maybe you feel like a weirdo or an outcast, and these characters who represent that make you feel something you've never felt before. You're probably going to be a little weird about it. I personally have never been blessed to find myself in a massive, all-consuming fandom enjoying the most popular ships of that fandom, but I can imagine the power, the hubris, like that's crazy town. I remember the things that made me weird as a nerdy fandom teen. Trying to imagine if those things had been popular also? Oh, baby. Baby is walking towards me with his blankie. Oh, hi, baby. Hi, baby man. Thank you for bringing me your blankie also. Oh, baby man. You think that you are just my human infant boy. Listen to the purrs. ASMR. ASMR. I'm gonna give them ASMR purrs. No. You don't want to give them ASMR purrs. So the stereotype of the SuperWhoLock fan as like a rabid fangirl with a special computer folder containing 287 images of the Doctor and Sherlock kissing was so widespread that even the writers of the shows hated these fans. That's correct. The actual adult human people being paid to make these shows were fully aware of SuperWhoLock, of Wincest, of John Locke. Stephen Moffat. Stephen Moffat was the showrunner of both Doctor Who and Supernatural. No, Doctor Who and Sherlock. I found an article talking about how he was once asked if he was interested in doing a crossover of, you know, at least the shows that he was in charge of. So Sherlock and Doctor Who, and he said no. He did not like the idea because, you know, then Sherlock would have to factor in time travel when solving all of his mysteries in the future, and that would just destroy the canon of the show. On multiple occasions, he had to address allegations that he was getting his plot ideas from Tumblr fanfiction. He denied this, obviously, but many fans remain convinced that he was jealous of their amazing ideas and totally reading their fanfiction secretly at night. There was quite a bit of animosity between him and the fans. After a couple seasons of his writing, people started to get the feeling that he was killing off these characters that they loved and playing with their emotions for cheap shock value, that he valued his own ability to look clever and trick the audience more than he valued, you know, meaningful story arcs, which is, you know, an entirely true characterization of his writing, but that didn't stop a lot of people from loving the characters that he was writing, and a lot of fans believed that their interpretation of the source material was better than his interpretation. That Stephen should be fucking lucky to be groveling before them and reading their fanfiction and stealing their ideas. Many people have since speculated on Tumblr that this disconnect between Moffat and his fans came from the fact that he is not only a man, but a male writer, TM, and he believed that he was writing his imagined audience, you know, he imagined that he was writing for men like him who wanted to watch strong male characters who are always right, save the day, and ogle at some hot women along the way. And when he realized that his most dedicated fans were teenage fangirls who wanted his male characters to kiss. Like, he didn't really know what to do with that. And he definitely did do a lot of deliberate queerbaiting in Sherlock. Like, almost every character is very queerbaited in Sherlock. There's so much subtext all the time because he knew who was making his shows popular, but he never intended to actually deliver on what they wanted, which is like the definition of queerbaiting. But at the very least, the beef between Moffat and his fans stayed on the internet. Let me tell you what Supernatural did. So within the Supernatural universe, there's this guy who's like God or speaks to God or something, and he's written this book series that is supernatural. So like Sam and Dean and everything they've done are fiction in books that were written by this guy who is God or something. So within the Supernatural canon, there is a supernatural fandom. The show, on many occasions, makes fun of its own fandom. It has, like, this one entire episode that takes place at a supernatural-themed convention. All of the fans are characterized as, like, delusional, freaky basement dwellers. There's this one girl who writes Wincest fanfiction, and she is, like, just such a stereotype of, like, the insane fangirl. It's bad.
And then Sam touched, no, caressed Dean's clavicle. "This is wrong," said Dean. "Then I don't want to be right," replied Sam in a husky voice.
I almost need to go back and watch this episode to convince myself that I didn't hallucinate this, because the fact that they wrote this is insane.
"I'm Becky. I read all about you guys, and I've even written a few. Anyway."
And I know there was this other upheaval in like 2013 Supernatural fandom where Jensen Ackles, who's the actor who plays Dean, was like asked, well, this girl attempted to ask him if like interpreting Dean's character as bisexual was valid, and he like completely shut her down. He reacted so badly, and then the crowd booed her.
"I'm bisexual, and I've noticed some possible subtypes that you might
I'm thoroughly confused. Really? The first question? Don't ruin it for everybody now.
I do not mean it as disrespectful at all. Thank you, though.
No, I still don't know what the question was. I'm gonna pretend I don't know what the question was.
In Tumblr fake stories, everyone claps. In Tumblr real stories, apparently everyone boos you for asking Jensen Ackles if it's okay to interpret Dean as bisexual. She asked this because there was the subtext for that to be a valid theory, a valid interpretation of the character, and obviously the writers were aware of the kind of fanfiction that was being written about the show, and the kind of fans that were driving their popularity. But again, we know how that went. It went to super hell.
I love you. He'll do this, Cass.
Stephen Moffat. So in my SuperWhoLock den tonight, I rewatched the H-Bomber guy. This is why Sherlock is bad and here's why. Anyway, I completely fucking forgot that Sherlock also canonically makes fun of its audience.
They even have one of the prospective theories be that Holmes and Moriarty were gay lovers who faked it together, and even the other theorists make fun of her for that, even though the same people writing this scene to make fun of that are also the people who purposefully queerbaited the fuck out of the relationships between Holmes and Watson and Holmes and Moriarty.
Some fans were happy to continue spending time in fandom spaces, surrounded themselves with fan creations, and sort of reclaim these shows regardless of what the canon intentions behind them were. Some people remained conspiracy theorists, thought that everything Moffat said to the contrary was actually covering up the fact that John and Sherlock were totally gonna kiss in season 3, or that Jensen Ackles being uncomfortable was because he and his co-stars were actually hooking up behind the scenes. Oh yes, there was RPF about this too. And there was other fans who couldn't look at these shows that they loved the same way anymore, knowing that they were being created by people who openly resented them. The end of 2014 marked a really sudden plummet in popularity for SuperWhoLock. All 3 of the shows seemed to go down together just as they had risen together. It coincided almost perfectly with Dashcon, and a lot of people will cite Dashcon as like a reason for disenchantment with Tumblr culture. I don't necessarily think that's it. I don't think that anybody walked away from Dashcon and on that very day went, I see it all now. SuperWhoLock, it was all a sham. It is now my life's purpose to kill Stephen Moffat. No, I think that Dashcon and the mess that it was just a perfect microcosm for what was already going on with Tumblr culture. Fandoms naturally peak for a couple of years, and then they naturally decline. And all of these shows were declining for obvious reasons. Supernatural, I was gonna say it got bad, but like, it was always bad. I think, personally, in my humble onion, I think that Supernatural becomes unwatchably bad around season 4 or 5, but I've been assured that it reaches ungodly depths of bad around season 9. I don't know, I haven't watched that far personally, but most fans started losing patience for Supernatural's shit around season 9, season 10. Why did it run until season 15? What? Truly one of the mysteries. But I digress. People started losing patience for Supernatural's shit around 2014. Doctor Who also continued running through the decline period because Doctor Who will keep running until the sun explodes. The thing about the Doctor is that he regenerates. They switch up the cast completely every couple of seasons. So the thing about replacing Matt Smith with Peter Capaldi was that teenage fangirls did not want to fuck that old man. So they kind of lost interest in the show. Sherlock is an interesting case because there's not actually a lot of canon content with Sherlock. It's a mini-series with 3 episodes per season. So between the first 2 seasons of Sherlock, that was only like 6 entire canon episodes. And there was long hiatuses, like years-long hiatuses between the seasons. So the fandom's activity relied heavily on fan creations, and the fandom was of course absolutely obsessed with John Locke. I must once again cite my contemporary Sarah Zed. She has a great video about the John Locke conspiracy, which was the fan conspiracy that Sherlock and John were finally going to get together any day now, but probably in season 3. So when season 3 came out, sorry, baby boy, you're licking my skin, please. You have sandpaper tongue and it hurts my skin. Please don't do this. Please no. So when Sherlock season 3 finally came out, after this years-long hiatus, it came out throughout 2013 and 2014, and it saw John marry a woman, fans felt pretty betrayed. They felt pretty heartbroken. Vows were made to kill Stephen Moffat for his queerbaiting and subsequent laughing at his fans. All 3 of the SuperWhoLock fandoms actually started getting quite a bit of criticism from social justice Tumblr and, a lot of the time from former SuperWhoLocks. When these fandoms were rising in popularity, they were symbols of Tumblr as the gay website, the woke website, the website where you go and there's pictures of men kissing. Yeah, suck it, homophobic parents, we have pictures of men kissing. Free blog if you think it's okay for men to kiss and be gay, even though it was problematic on, like, every level imaginable. And even though it was problematic on, like, every level imaginable, Tumblr's obsession with quirky white dudes kissing was genuinely a lot of people's first introduction to the idea that being gay is okay. A couple of years passed, and the fog dissipated, and the largely female fan base started to realize that why aren't we fans of any women? Why aren't there any women celebrated in these fandoms? It's because there aren't any well-written women in the source material. There was Rose and Donna in the well-written Doctor Who seasons, but those were less important than the 11th Doctor seasons. And besides that, these shows were largely focused on men. And when women did show up, the writing tended to get pretty sketchy. I don't need to be the one to shit on Moffat for that particular offense. It's been done over and over and over and over again. It has been done. It has been said for good reason. There is a whole fan lore page dedicated to outlining what a Moffat woman is, for good reason. The man makes choices, okay? And on Tumblr, a lot of people finally said to themselves, why should we keep idolizing the work of a man who disrespects his female fans, objectifies his female characters, and still does better by them than whatever the fuck Supernatural has going on with women? Holy shit, we've cracked it, guys. After all these years, we finally cracked it. These shows, they're bad. Between 2014 and 2015, SuperWhoLock nearly disappeared off the face of Tumblr completely. We all shoved the John Locke fan art under our beds, and changed our URLs, and agreed never to speak the name SuperWhoLock again. It was all some kind of a cringe mass hallucination that thank God we've all finally woken up from. But now that SuperWhoLock has been dead for nearly a decade, I find it quite interesting to look back on. Because like I said, I don't think anything else like this has ever happened. I don't think it's ever happened since. And it's like so synonymous with Tumblr fandom culture of the early 2010s. I've touched on it in so many videos of mine throughout the years, but I've never, like, really sat down and said, hey, what the hell was up with SuperWhoLock? So here is that addition to the strange video canon. I think it's long overdue. Remember to go check out this video's sponsor, Scentbird. You can use code STRANGE to get 55% off your first month. Bingus says thank you for watching. He doesn't know what's going on. All he knows is mummy's lap and warm pets and snuggly and blanket. Truly the creature. Truly the creature of all time is the Bingus. Okay. I'll see you in another video very soon, my friends. Bye-bye!